Mr. Kerstens, thank you so much for coming all the way for UDC 2025. It's an honor to have you here. Your leadership in shaping Europe's regulatory framework for crypto assets is widely recognized. Could you briefly introduce your role within DG FISMA and highlight your involvement in MiCA and DORA?
So I am the advisor for technological innovation and cybersecurity at the European Commission's Financial Services Department, DG FISMA. And in this role, I have led the European Commission's digital finance strategy work. So this is a strategy, a multi-year strategy on innovation in the financial sector, and that has covered cybersecurity, for example, which led to the Digital Operational Resilience Act, DORA, but it's also included our work on blockchain and distributed ledger technology in the financial sector, with, for example, the MiCA regulation, the Markets in Crypto Assets regulation, which I had provided sort of the design for, and I accompanied the negotiations with our legislator for it. But also, for example, the use of, or the emerging use of distributed ledger technology in traditional financial markets, like securities markets.
Right.
So these are a number of initiatives. Also, we're also doing work on open banking, open finance, on data sharing between financial institutions. So it's a lot of policy and regulation, but it's very exciting because while people often talk about, certainly financial people often talk about the risk of innovation, the risk of technology.
Right.
I recognize that there are risks, but there are more than risks, there are opportunities. There
right?
are tremendous opportunities.
Yeah. Would you expand on the strategic goals of the FinTech Action Plan and the Digital Finance Strategy and why they have gained such prominence across EU financial policymaking?
Well, the real strategy was to make sure that Europe would remain competitive, but also well regulated, that financial stability would be assured and promoted, but at the same time that European markets, European financial institutions would not be denied the advantages and the opportunities that technological innovation offer. As a nerdy fact, but I often repeat this, is that the financial sector is the largest ICT sector in the economy. No other sector spends as much on ICT technology as the financial sector does. And we have to make sure that that investment also pays off, that they do not only invest into legacy infrastructure, into patching up old systems, but they really can make use of the latest and the newest and the best technologies around to compete with each other, to serve the real economy, but most importantly, to serve consumers.
Right. So as Europe continues to integrate digital assets into its markets, how does the EC approach regulatory harmonization with both member states and aligned jurisdictions outside the EU?
Well, of course, our main focus is the EU. Internal market, because we have indeed 27 member states with all different approaches, cultures, perspectives, preferences, priorities. And it is important to bear in mind that the European Union is built on this notion of a single market. So in order for people, capital, goods and services to move freely between our 27 member states, we have to make sure that the rules governing these things are harmonized, because there's no point in having the right to do business across member states if the rules in other member states are completely different. So we harmonize the rules to strengthen our internal market. But as we harmonize these rules and we set these standards for the EU as a whole, we also become often a reference point for the rest of the world. In political science, a bit boring, but this is called the Brussels effect. The fact that rules developed in the European Union have a tendency of inspiring other jurisdictions. We've seen this recently, for example, with the United States, the Genius Act, which in substance is very similar to the stablecoin chapter of the MiCA regulation. But I also hear, that's why I get invited so often to places all over the world to talk about MiCA, because people want to learn from our experience.
Okay, looking to the future, which emerging challenges or technologies in the crypto ecosystem do you believe will require the next generation of regulatory responses from DG FISMA?
Well, ideally, we don't need to regulate anything, because I think that it's not because something is innovative or because something moves that you have to regulate it.
Right.
But sometimes you need to create legal certainty, or you need to have enabling legislation, and MiCA is in a way enabling legislation as well. But what I see as the biggest challenge ahead of us, or but also the biggest opportunity ahead of us, is the use of blockchain and distributed ledger technology, not just for crypto asset market, but for traditional financial instruments, or what people call real-world assets. I don't know why they call them real-world assets, because there's nothing that real-world about them, but the use of distributed ledger technology and blockchain technology in securities markets, in debt markets, in funds management, and so on. I think that there's enormous potential for efficiency and cross-border activity in these markets, for developing global markets that are always on, by using blockchain technology and all the powers that it brings. And if we're successful in unlocking this, and a number of conditions have to be filled, the market has to be ready for it, but also you need to have cash on ledger to settle. There are all kinds of very complicated legal issues around it. But if we are successful in addressing those issues, then this market will far, far, far eclipse the relatively small market of stable coins or crypto assets, which currently stand at close to $4 trillion in market capitalization. Now, $4 trillion US is a very big amount. But compared to the size of the global financial markets, 4 trillion really isn't all that much.
Right.
And we have all of the other financial markets still to unlock with blockchain technology, and I think that will be the major challenge and the major opportunity ahead of us.
Yeah, challenge and opportunity. Opportunities and risk always go together, it seems. So lastly, for our UDC audience of innovators, developers, and policymakers, what kind of cooperation between them, like policymakers, FASPs, and technologists, do you believe would be most constructive for maintaining the balance between innovation and security?
I think an open conversation. I think regulators can't really do a good job if they don't understand what builders are building.
True.
Builders
Very true.
have to explain what it is they're building. Not just from the technological point of view, but also why the world will be a better place if their creation were implemented. And they have to do a better job at selling what is the societal benefit of their innovation. Not how they are going to make a lot of money on it and they're going to be driving a Lamborghini soon. No, that is not very interesting, but why consumers and financial markets are going to be better off if we implement this or this innovation. And it's not just one innovation, there are many builders, all of them looking at sometimes very minute or arcane details in the system and finding great solutions that brings us all ahead. So I think that developers, builders, the crypto community, the crypto ecosystem should not be afraid of the regulators, and they should have no reason to be afraid of the regulators.
Right.
And the regulators should not, and the policymakers should not lock themselves up in their offices in ivory towers and sort of try to regulate or try to make sense of things they don't necessarily understand, but they should discuss and engage with each other.
Thank you so much, Peter, for being here today, joining us at UDC 2025.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.